The New York Rangers have run into a very terrible stretch of play as of late. They have been playing some awful hockey, unfortunately. But in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the things that this New York Rangers team kind of needs to add and should be looking to add to help, turn things around, not only for kind of right now, but also, before the deadline, to really help bolster up this team and make it, a lot closer to being a true Stanley Cup contender, which, we all want to see this team be. I mean, as of right now, are we one of the kind of, top, 15 teams in the NHL? Absolutely. I think we're a playoff caliber team for sure. But are we a, true kind of top 5 Stanley Cup contender as of right now? No, I would not say that, and I honestly would say probably one of the more optimistic Rangers fans. I mean, I'm not as negative as some other people out there, but I definitely, as of right now, would not say this team is a true, Stanley Cup contending caliber team. Could we possibly win it? You never know. This is the NHL here. A lot of things can happen in hockey, especially, this kind of game here is a true team sport. If you get hot at the right time there, you never know what can happen. A goalie gets hot, a couple players get hot, you can go a long way and possibly win the whole thing, even as a 6, 7, 8 seed, which, we all know as Rangers fans, unfortunately, for the wrong reasons. But, just in general there, it is hockey. A lot of things can happen, but let's be honest here, as of this second, we are not a true, top 5, one of the true elite kind of Stanley Cup contending teams. So there are definitely some moves this team needs to make. So we're going to kind of take a look at some of those things in today's video and kind of look at the playing style of players that we need, the kind of attributes, the intangibles that we need more of on this team. Because I can obviously say, let's add in McDavid, Matthews, Kaprizov, and then let's go with Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, and Cale Makar on the back end, and boom, we're instantly fixed. That obviously can't happen, and we're not going to see any of those players really acquired more than likely. So what are some actual kind of realistic player types and kind of play styles and that kind of stuff there that we should be and could be going after in the very near future? We're going to take a look at that in today's video. So first off, though, I want to hop on to the defensive side of things there where, ideally we add in probably 2 defensemen mid-season there. I don't think you'll really ever see, for the most part, more than that added in mid-season there, unless a bunch of injuries happen. So I think at most you're seeing, 2 trades for defensemen happen. But if we're being realistic and what I kind of think is going to happen, I would have guessed that we're probably only going to see, 1 defenseman acquired via trade. So if we're only getting 1 guy mid-season there, and obviously this upcoming offseason, I think we could possibly see, 2, 3, maybe 4 new defensemen added in. You never know. I mean, I don't know if we'll see quite 4, but 3 for sure is definitely a possibility. 2, I would pretty much guarantee it. Lindgren and Trouba, I think, are as good as gone pretty much this upcoming offseason. Now, mid-season, I'm not quite sure we're actually going to see any of these kind of main guys traded away. Now, maybe we do see a Keandre Miller or Ryan Lindgren traded away mid-season. I don't see, Adam Fox or Braden Schneider getting traded at all, whether it is, mid-season right now or in the offseason. Trouba, I think, will probably be moved possibly this upcoming offseason, but mid-season, I don't see that happening with his cap hit and that whole kind of situation there. So maybe we do see, a Zach Jones moved away there, which I don't think could be the worst idea. I think he's a fine player and all of that, but, come playoff time there, I probably would rather more of a kind of veteran, more experienced, bigger, tougher, more defensively reliable defenseman back there. Obviously, he's got, a pretty good breakout game there, pretty solid puck mover, good offensively. Not a complete liability defensively, but he's obviously not some shutdown, great, tough, physical, big defenseman who I would probably rather more of in that kind of spot there come playoff time. So if we did see a Zach Jones and a prospect and a pick or 2 go out the door for a defenseman, I would not be against that. Keandre Miller and Ryan Lindgren there, they're interesting kind of situations where I think Lindgren probably just ends up walking away in free agency, unfortunately, where we get nothing in return. I wouldn't be against trading him away, especially if we can, acquire a pretty solid defenseman to kind of take that spot and possibly play, whether it is, alongside Fox or, Schneider, whoever it ends up being, obviously doesn't really matter. But either way, I would like to see at least 1 defenseman traded for, and the type of player I'm looking for in a defenseman to be added into this team, whether it is, right now or just before the deadline there. I don't really care what side because, if it's right-handed guy, maybe you want to move over, Schneider to the left. Like, there are different combos you can kind of do there. So I'm not really too picky on which side they're going to play because we do have some fairly versatile defensemen, which is quite nice. But just in general, the kind of player I want to see added in for this Rangers team is ideally, a good veteran player who has a lot of experience in the playoffs and in the regular season there. He's been around the league for a while now. is a pretty good leader. That's kind of the ideal situation there, was a good leader, kind of bringing a new voice possibly to the locker room. That would be kind of good there. Obviously, sometimes mid-season, maybe you're not going to get as kind of vocal of a guy possibly, but if it is a really kind of certified, established NHL player who's a really respected guy around the league, maybe he could kind of be a good voice to come into the locker room there and kind of help turn things around. Also a guy who needs to be, they have to be tough, they have to be physical, because we don't need any more kind of soft defensemen. No offense to Andrew Miller, I know I talk about it a lot, but he is just too soft of a player. I mean, when you're 6'5" there, you kind of really surprised when you see someone of that size be that soft out there. I mean, I really don't like kind of bagging on the guy there. I think he's a good player and definitely has the potential to be, a very good defenseman in this league. But one of his big issues is that lack of physicality. So obviously the guy coming in, I want to see him have some really good kind of toughness, be a very physical guy, blocking a lot of shots, hitting a lot of players, being a really solid, reliable defensive defenseman ideally. I do want to see a puck mover added in as well. So if it can be all those things, a good leader, tough player, experience in the playoffs, physical, block shots, hits, all that good stuff there, but also can be that good kind of defensive guy, but also have a decent kind of breakout pass and good puck mover. That's the kind of ideal defenseman for us, I think. Maybe more of a kind of second pairing guy. Not quite sure we're going to trade for a true, top pairing player. Rasmus Andersson is kind of that role where he kind of almost fits all these things. Not perfectly, he's not the kind of most physical player in the world, but he's definitely not a soft player. And, he does seem like a pretty good, obviously, puck-moving guy. Good offensively, pretty solid defensively. It doesn't fit all these things to an absolute T, but definitely has a bit of everything in here that I'm kind of looking for in a defenseman. But unfortunately, the Flames are a decent team so far this season, so it doesn't seem like they're probably going to be sellers, although things can definitely change, and he does have one more season after this one under team control, so maybe he does just stay with the Flames there, which is very possible. So other than him, I'm not quite sure we're going to see a realistic kind of top pairing, true kind of caliber guy available for trade. Now, I could be wrong, and one of the kind of better other guys around there available as well, Marcus Pettersson, he kind of fits some of these things as well. He wouldn't be a bad fit. There are some other really solid defensemen as well. Savard on the Habs, I wouldn't be against there. He is more of a kind of maybe bottom pairing kind of guy, so maybe he takes a spot of Zach Jones there, although I don't know, maybe we'd have to find another trade there. I'm not sure the Habs are necessarily the best fit for him, as they do have, Elaine Hudson back there is obviously that dynamic kind of offensive guy. Not sure if they're wanting another kind of undersized but softer of a player who's not the best defensively. Obviously, Zach Jones, I would say, is a kind of better defensive guy than Hudson right now, obviously, but obviously he's kind of their main guy going forward back there. So I don't know if Zach Jones is the best fit for the Habs there. Maybe we'd have to see, Zach Jones go to a different team for a draft pick or something like that, and then we acquire Savard, who I don't think would be a bad fit at all on that third pair, although he's not going to have the biggest impact in the world. So I kind of would probably rather more of a Marcus Pettersson guy, who I think is a pretty solid kind of, true second pairing kind of caliber guy who, could play on the top pair possibly here and there, but he's just a really solid kind of, number 3, 4 defenseman kind of thing up there, where Savard is probably more of a kind of 5. But either way, either of those guys would be good there. So I'm looking for a leader. Got to be tough, physical, but also good defensively and can move the puck as well. Those are the main things there. The experience factor, it's kind of a bonus there, you could say. Same with the leadership, but they mainly just have to be tough, physical, block shots, hit, play good defensive hockey, and be able to move the puck. Those are the things that I'm looking for in a defenseman for this New York Rangers team to add in sometime, ideally in the very near future, but at least before this upcoming trade deadline. And now for the forward side of things there, I think we're in a pretty interesting spot right now. We have some really great, young, talented forwards, guys like Will Cooley, Alexi Lafreniere, Capo Caco, he's looking pretty good this season. Obviously, other guys like Philip Hedl, one healthy, has produced at a pretty good level for this team. Adam Edstrom in that kind of, obviously kind of bottom 6 role, 4th line role, I think has played decent. Offensively hasn't been amazing, but still has played some decent hockey. Brett Berard, he's looking like a pretty solid player there. Middle 6 caliber winger as of right now, I would say. So that's a nice player, but obviously we could definitely benefit from adding in a true, top 6, top line level forward. I think that's kind of something that this team definitely needs to look towards adding. We're going to have a bit of cap space, it seems like, possibly, especially if it can move out some guys. So maybe we do see a trade happen for a true kind of top 6 caliber forward. The Riley Smith trade is interesting because the guy's putting up some decent numbers, but I think his overall impact has been a little disappointing there, and obviously you've got guys like Mika Zibanejad, who's making a lot of money, hasn't played great, is really kind of an unmovable contract, although he has put up some decent numbers. He just hasn't played the greatest overall. Panarin, we know what he brings, some elite offensive play. He has kind of cooled off a bit as of late, but still putting up some good numbers. Obviously, he's done a pretty good job. So there are some kind of good players on this team, obviously, who have put up some great numbers and are playing some good hockey. The overall kind of 5-on-5 even strength scoring is not, completely terrible, but it is still an issue which we have known for years and years now. Season after season, that has been an issue, it seems like, and it just has not gotten fixed. So obviously adding in some true scoring kind of players who can produce that 5-on-5 is definitely a need, and we need to see more of that added into this team. So what I'm kind of looking for here is maybe a winger and a forward, but it kind of depends on whether or not we're looking to move out some players as well. And maybe it is kind of more of just one really solid top 4 caliber defenseman and one maybe kind of middle 6 forward possibly. I would like kind of a top line, top 6 caliber guy, but maybe it is just a kind of middle 6 forward there. Ideally, someone who can play a bit of center and wing to have that depth there, although Kaapo Kakko has been, decent at center so far. I would say definitely hasn't been played too bad for someone who is a primary winger. When he's played center, he's looked decent there. Obviously, a pretty solid face-off guy as well, especially for a primary winger. So he can kind of be that 5th center out there, kind of one of the depth kind of center options in the system. But as of right now, kind of after the guys we have, after Brzezinski and stuff like that, it falls off very fast. And even a guy, Johnny Brzezinski, if any injury happens there to Zibanejad or Trocheck or obviously Filipino, which we've seen Filipino go down, our center depth is really, really bad. I'm just going to be honest. It's bad. Come playoffs, I don't really love seeing a guy like Johnny Brzezinski in the lineup. Now, in a 4th-line role here and there, I'm not against Brzezinski at all being in this lineup, but I'm talking about in that kind of 3rd-line center role, come playoff time, we just cannot see that happen. So adding in a kind of guy who can play a bit of center, a bit of wing there, provide a solid kind of 2-way game, wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, but just in general for the forward side of things there, either adding in a, center/winger or a full-time center wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Maybe you want to move Hedl to the wing. I mean, there are a lot of situations that can happen here, and, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, what trades are going to be made, but just in general, what I'm looking for is ideally a bit of center depth who can, maybe it is a primary winger who plays a bit of center added in, but also just a true kind of scoring kind of guy up there who's going to put the puck in the back of the net and do so at 5-on-5. Who can be a bit of a line driver possibly. That's some of the problem though as well is, are we actually going to be able to go out there and make that move and officially, put that trade through to go out there and get a true kind of star level forward? I have my doubts about that and Chris Drury actually getting it done. Hopefully it does happen. I would love to see that happen, but in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see that true kind of line driver added in on the forward side of things there. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Although it is definitely, a massive, massive need for this team, and there definitely are some other needs as well, but in general, we have to see, at minimum, a top 4 caliber defenseman added in and a top 6 caliber forward to really make this team a true Stanley Cup contender, in my opinion. I think this team has almost what it takes. But there are definitely some holes and some needs to be addressed before we actually can possibly win the Stanley Cup, in my opinion. But I don't think we're insanely far away. We have some great building blocks and core pieces, but it's about finding the rest of the kind of players to go around that and, a couple star-level kind of guys, higher-end guys added in here, and that could truly make us a true Stanley Cup contender. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I know I kind of rambled on at moments here in this video, but I really just wanted to talk about some of the needs and kind of things that I think this team definitely needs to add in and address before the trade deadline here so that we can have a chance at truly competing for that cup, because I still think there is a chance that we can go on a run here and have a nice long playoff run. I don't think it's impossible for that to happen for this team, but we probably need to see some moves happen to get that far into the playoffs there and have a chance to truly win that Stanley Cup. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on this video. Let me know what you think this team needs to truly be a Stanley Cup contender. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. See ya.